I started playing tennis when I was 5. I always wanted to go pro. It requires a lot of investment, but it was really hard since I'm from like a small town in the middle of Siberia, and I had to decide whether I want to make those investments. I kind of like started thinking about that option of going to the US. I always imagined myself being like in a big state school, Division 1, with all those like huge football stadiums like Stanford or Columbia. I literally emailed the coach from
Did you really?
Yes, and I was like, why is he not responding? I never imagined that I would be in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It was an accident, not gonna lie. So I landed in Minneapolis and my coach picked me up. And it was like midnight. My coach was freaking out when he was driving. He was constantly monitoring the heat map, and I kept getting those like alerts on my phone. And I was like, whoa, what is happening? And I was texting my mom, Mama, we're in a tornado. I don't know if I'm gonna see you again.
If you could give your experience at Augie a letter grade, what would it be?
Everybody is like super nice. You have to smile. I want to say fake, but it's not always the case. And I'm naturally like just very serious. That's not how people want to see you here. They just don't understand that. If you had told freshman Sasha that her job would be talking to people for like 6 hours straight, she was
in a foreign country, speaking a different language,
speaking English, and I was like, no, there's no way. I realized that that's actually something that fulfills me, and it's been probably the best part of my experience at Augie.
Thank you for joining us as we go back to college. I honestly never thought, after leaving college in 2020 and graduating from home in Australia, I would have the chance to go back and reconnect with my friends from all over the world just 3.5 years later. I didn't know if I'd ever actually return to the Midwest, but I made a decision last year in 2023 that I was going to bring this podcast to life, and I traveled back to the US where I recorded these episodes focusing on the personal transformations that we had through culture shock, ridiculously uncomfortable situations, and fears that only a small percentage of people would dare face. These are, of course, just some of the topics that we cover as we dive deep into conversations with my classmates who come from incredibly diverse backgrounds as we united in a small town at a small college in the middle of South Dakota in the US. The first 4 episodes of this season have been recorded in Kansas and Minnesota, but today is incredibly special because this will be the first of many episodes to come being recorded on campus at Augustana University, which is where we all went to college. So without further ado, let's kick it off. Today, we are joined by someone whose competitive nature drove her dream of playing tennis at an American college. She grew up in a small town in Siberia, Russia, and has just graduated this past weekend. Congratulations to this person. She graduated just this last weekend, which 6 months later after recording this episode, it's kind of crazy that that's all happened, but she's finally able to collect her major in business, economics, and computer science, as well as her government minor. When I was back at college back in December 2023 to record this episode, it was surreal stepping back on campus again. Honestly, didn't have too much time to soak it up, however, because I had to jump straight into conversation with this amazing person before she flew home. I loved this conversation, and I hope you do too. Let's go back to college with Sasha. Sasha Kistanova. Here we are. We're back at college in Sioux Falls. Crazy. I can't believe it. I'm sitting across from you. How are you feeling?
Honestly, it is weird, but at the same time, it feels like you never left.
Well, it's been 3.5 years since I was here, and this is the first podcast recording back in the place where it all happened, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I caught the Greyhound in from Minneapolis this morning, so I'm a little bit tired, but I want to make time to see you because you're heading back home to Russia very soon.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're from Russia, and you've been on the tennis team here at Augie this is your 5th year as well. I say back to college, but for you, you never left. You're still here.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Which is very exciting.
It is.
So what's it like being a super senior?
It is different from my normal 4 years. I kind of feel like a grandma most of the time, since there are a lot of freshmen who are like 18 years old. And I've been hanging around those people. But, I'm just like happy to be around my friends still, not having to worry about like real life responsibilities as an adult. So.
Well, we've been catching up for the past hour and a half or so as I've been setting up. But you've sort of mentioned that maybe there's a little bit of senioritis kicking in, which means you're a little bit tired of being here after, well, for you, 4.5 years, is it so far?
I guess.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's been a lot of studying and just like being in the same place for so long, surrounded by pretty much the same people. Sometimes it gets a little depressing, and I feel like I'm burning out slowly, but it's okay. I'm still getting through my classes, still getting some studying done. There's not as much motivation left, but that's okay. That means I'm ready to move on.
Well, I found that my senior year, I approached my senior year like I just wanted to go for it, spend as much time with people as I wanted to. I didn't really care as much for the classes. I was just doing the ones I needed to tick off so I could get the degree and get out of here. But I feel like there's something about this place that maybe after some time, it's a little bit remote. There's not too much going on in Sioux Falls. So it does get a little bit tiring and, dare say, a little bit depressing as well.
Yeah, that is true. And it really helps being on the tennis team because we get to travel a lot. But from what I've heard from like some other friends who are from different countries, they're definitely feeling a little depressed, like being in Sioux Falls, not being able to do much on the weekends with like all their free time and stuff. So.
And well, what's the date today? December 9th, 2023. There's no snow on the ground out there, which is super surprising for this time of year. Normally it's absolutely covered. It's everywhere. It's still freezing cold. I definitely felt that getting off the bus this morning, but there's no snow, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I definitely don't like that. I don't have a Christmas mood. I was just talking to my friend about it. It's so weird, like Christmas is in 2 weeks and it doesn't feel like it. Also, like having no snow when it's so freezing outside, that's like, it's just...
Yeah, if you're getting the cold weather, you might as well have the snow. Bring the full package.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just not as fun.
Yeah, at least I could enjoy the snow and like building a snowman or something. Like we did a year ago, it was this huge snowstorm in Sioux Falls, but...
For sure.
What can we do?
Well, I'm very much looking forward to unpacking your tennis journey because I was a student athlete also at Augie for a couple of years playing basketball, but I would like to hear from your perspective. If you could just take us through your tennis journey, when did tennis actually begin for you?
All right. Well, get ready. I started playing tennis when I was 5. So that's been like almost 18 years since I got into this sport. I always wanted to go pro, but it was really hard since I'm from like a small town in the middle of Siberia, and tennis is like I would say it's a luxury sport. Like it requires a lot of investment if you want to get to that high level. Practices are expensive. Like having a coach, like a personal coach, is expensive. Traveling to tournaments and stuff. So when I got to that point where I had to decide whether I want to make those investments or I want to just like keep enjoying my life, I kind of like started thinking about that option of going to the US since like college sports are so big here. Like back home, we don't have it. It's just like you just go to school. That's it. It takes the whole day, like with your classes. Like most of my friends start their classes at like 8 a.m. and then they come back at 6 p.m.
Oh, right. That's a full day of just school.
You have no energy to do anything else after that. And also like you don't want to like spend your money on the sport. So it's like, it's not going anywhere. So like most of my friends who took this path of staying in Russia and studying there, most of them just like gave up on tennis. And I just wanted to enjoy it for like 4 and now it turns out 5 more years. And some of my friends who were older, like also tennis players, they were doing the same thing. Like they were trying to go to the US, and I saw them successfully achieving that. So I decided to try, and I think I've been talking about it since I was like 14. My mom was against it.
She didn't want you to leave?
No, she was like, I want you to stay in your hometown, like stay close to me. Like, I want you to go. And especially like to the US, because it's our enemy or whatever. My dad was obviously supporting me all the time. And I did everything myself. Like, I didn't use any agencies, like all those like sports agencies.
Yeah, I was with a recruiting agency. Yeah. That's how I ended up here, was through one of those.
That's what most people do. And I was like, well, that is too expensive because my mom does not support me, so she's not going to give me any money for that. So I was just doing everything on my own. And I started, like, I got some extra English lessons with a tutor. I was preparing for like IELTS. I don't know how to pronounce that test. There's TOEFL. Well, you didn't have to take that.
Yeah, I've got no idea what you're talking about.
English proficiency test.
Right, okay.
So I started studying for those and then just kept playing tennis casually. I didn't travel that much anymore when I was in high school. And eventually, somehow, I ended up here. Could never imagine that I would be in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, but I feel
the exact same way.
That's how we all feel. But yeah, I always imagined myself being like in a big state school, Division I, with all those like huge football stadiums. And well, never happened, but I still love it here. But that's how I ended up here. I mean, I was just like playing tennis my whole life. Didn't have enough resources to travel to bigger international tournaments when it was time to do that. And so I chose this alternative route of like enjoying this sport a little more while also getting the world-class education, I want to say.
Definitely world-class at Augie.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. And like just your whole tennis journey. I mean, you started when you were 5, which is very young to start any sport. So did you feel like you had lots of opportunities in Russia to afford those coaches to really develop your game?
Not really, not in my hometown. I know some people from the capital, from Moscow, they, even with the same level of tennis, they were able to get some sponsors and stuff like that. And it's just like, when you're in Moscow, there's so much more tournaments happening there every week. It's easier to travel to Europe from there. But like, my hometown is in the middle of the country and there's not much going on there. And also the group of people I was like practicing with, they were not as enthusiastic of becoming a pro. So it was really hard.
Very difficult. Well, I guess I have a similar story. I mean, I grew up a suburb within Melbourne, so I wasn't quite in the city, but still surrounded in a pretty reasonably populated area. But I feel like the clubs that I played with, they didn't necessarily, especially reflecting back on this, of course, they didn't necessarily get me the opportunities that like maybe I would have liked to. Looking back on it now, maybe I would have been better off going to a different club with better coaches, just better players to surround myself in that environment with the top tier talent so I could really progress. Because I found once I got to the US, like the talent was so much different. I was completely intimidated by the guys. I walked into the gym for the first time, they're running around. They're all 6'7", athletic, super good shooters. So I just felt like well out of my depth.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm also very competitive. So like, I tend to measure my performance based on the performance of others. And so when I see that people around me are not even trying, like it's very hard for me to like be motivated to do more.
I've seen that competitiveness of yours come out. I remember, this is kind of just a random story, but I remember there was a table tennis set up in the Madsen Centre it might have even been Late Night Family Feud, just kind of a random night. But I remember we were playing table tennis and things were getting heated, especially with you. I think we were playing doubles or something, but you were just so determined to win. I think that was the first time where I really saw that competitiveness of yours come out.
Okay.
But I think it's a great fire, and I think you use it as a great weapon. It's allowed you all the opportunities that you've got so far with your tennis.
For sure. Yeah.
And I think coming from maybe a smaller town where you've got that chip on your shoulder to kind of prove yourself to the people from the bigger cities who have had more of that opportunity to say, hey, you know, I'm here, I can show you a thing or two. I'm pretty serious.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. But honestly, I don't even remember playing ping pong in Madsen. There's no way.
It definitely happened. I remember it. But that's, I guess, why I like this podcast too, is because for what comes, the memories that come naturally to me are completely different for you. And you've had 3 years at Augie, or 3.5 years at Augie without me. So, I mean, a lot has happened during that time, I bet. Mm-hmm. So specifically, I just wanted to sort of extract a little bit more how you specifically found Augustana and like why you chose to go there.
It was an accident, not gonna lie. My coach was the one who found me, so I never actually intentionally reached out to Augustana. And so the way recruitment works is that like you post your recruiting video, like where you're playing tennis, you post it on YouTube, and then the coaches around the country from different schools, they just like monitor those videos. And if they're interested, they reach out to you. But at the same time, you can just like find a school that you're interested in, find the email of the coach and just reach out to him. So
did you do any active, like reaching out to emails to different coaches to different colleges?
Yeah. So that was my strategy. That's what I've been doing. Well, I was doing it for like a year. Well, not a year, maybe like half a year, like 6 months at least. I was emailing a lot of colleges. I think eventually it was like at least 100 different schools. But what I didn't know is that how good the level of tennis here is, like in Division I schools. Because I was kind of, since it's college tennis, not professional, I was expecting it to be like very chill. And I thought I could get into like a really good school like Stanford or Columbia. I literally emailed the coach from
Did
Stanford.
You really?
Yes. And I was like, why is he not responding?
He'd be delighted to have me on his team.
Yes. And then, I ended up talking to a couple schools. They were not as big. They were Division I though. Just like no-name state schools. That's how I would say. That's how I would describe them. So like one of them was, I think, Eastern Washington University. It's like in the middle of Washington State. Like literally in the middle. I
feel like I have a feeling I had, so sort of in that community back home with basketballers, I feel like I had a few friends that may have gone there.
Okay.
Which is kind of random. Or it was Washington something. I think it was Eastern Washington. Yeah. There you go. You could have gone to college with some of my friends if you decided to go there.
What's funny is that like, I think a couple of years ago, I was like looking through the people who saw one of my stories on Instagram, and I saw that coach and I realized that he was still following me, which was interesting. But I was talking to him for a couple months and then he ended up finding somebody else. And I was pretty determined that I would go there since I didn't really have any other solid options at that point. And so the main concern that he had was that I didn't have the international ranking since I wasn't playing tournaments. And that's something the coaches look at a lot. That's how they can tell if the player is good. All I had was my recruiting video, which was good, but he said that was not enough. Like, I can't fully trust you just based on the video. And then I got an email from my current coach, and it was a Division II school. And before that email, whenever like a Division II school would email me, I would never respond. I would just like leave it.
Division II, huh?
Yeah, I was like, what is
We're
Division
better than
II?
that.
Why would I do that? Obviously, as I said, I didn't know the level. And he included like really nice photos of Sioux Falls in that email. And it looked like so pretty, like the falls and what else do we have? It's just, I think it was just like some downtown photos and then the tennis courts, Augie campus. And it looked pretty. I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I responded and I started talking to him. And I think another reason why I responded was because it was right after that coach from Eastern Washington kind of like rejected me. So I needed another option. Yeah, and I started talking to that coach, and only like 6 months later, I actually signed the contract because I was still hoping to find a Division 1 school. But it ended up working out, and I'm still here.
You're still here after all these years and still playing tennis as well.
Yeah. I obviously, when I signed my contract, I was telling my parents, hey, this is just for a year. I'm going to get some ranking, like there is the UTR ranking, what it's called.
What is that?
Universal Tennis Ranking. And I think it's the worldwide one. So basically, whenever I played college tournaments, I was like gaining that ranking.
And you rank on a global scale.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So what rank are you now, if I'm allowed to ask?
It's not great. It's good enough for Division 2 college tennis. Well, I think the scale is like 16, and most professional players are at 14. I'm at like 8.5, something like that. So it's like, it's a very weird ranking. It's not like your spot. It's just like the 16 point scale, and then it adjusts every time you play somebody.
Okay, so it's not like a specific ranking, like you're ranked number 10,002 or you're ranked 200 and whatever.
No, we have those specifically like we have national ranking in NCAA Division 2. We have regional rankings, singles, doubles, stuff like that. And I think my highest one was, actually, there was only one time when I made it to the national ranking. That was last year. Well, this past spring. I was number 71, I think, in the nation in Division 2 in singles. That was right after I beat the girl from top 3 school.
Dang.
In the US.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So that was probably the peak of my tennis career, but yeah.
And what year was that?
That was like just this year. This last season.
Okay, so you're not on the decline. You're still very much...
I feel like I'm at my best point in terms of tennis right now.
That's awesome. So just all those years of experience at college, everything that you've learned, all the practice, just keeps stacking up.
Yeah, and also I feel like tennis is it's a lot about your mental state and your psychology, like how you behave on the court, how you manage your emotions. And I feel like just like with years, as you're becoming older and wiser, you learn how to control your emotions, and that makes your game better for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I can see that being very helpful, especially in a game like tennis, one-on-one versus someone else. I mean, there's nowhere to hide. You're just out there on the court, and the only one that can improve the game or make it worse is you.
Yeah.
So you've really got to keep level-headed.
Yeah. And like at the college level, everybody is pretty much the same. There is no such thing as, oh, this person is definitely better than that person. Like when you get on the court to play somebody, you don't know what's going to happen. It can go either way. You may lose to a person you used to beat all the time, you know? So it's very important to be able to also like play against yourself and win against yourself and your emotions when you're on the court.
For sure. That's very wise of you. You've learned a thing or two over your college time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So your dream since you're 14 was to come to the US to play tennis.
Yeah.
So what was it like when you finally rocked up to campus right here?
Should I be honest?
Absolutely. As honest, just describe it to me.
I was expecting more, for sure. My coach picked me. Okay, first of all, the story of how I got here was like, oh my God. So I landed in Minneapolis, and my coach picked me up from Minneapolis. And it was like midnight. So it was already dark, and we started driving.
Oh, so he picked you up from Minneapolis at midnight.
Yes, he was nice enough to do that.
You still had a 4-hour drive after that to get to Sioux Falls here.
Yes, and he's done it multiple times for me because the flights are so much cheaper to Minneapolis. You know it.
Well, I mean, that's why I took the bus today, not the $400 flight to Sioux Falls.
Yeah, and it was also my first big international travel, and I was going alone. Obviously, my parents were still in Russia, and I just wanted to make it with the least number of flights, you know, like... it was only three flights for me. So
you hadn't done any other international travel before then?
Not really, no. That was
what do you mean not really? So neighboring country or something?
I traveled to Turkey and Egypt with my parents for like a vacation, you know, when I was 7. So I don't really remember and didn't do anything. I was just like swimming in the pool for 2 weeks. So I don't really count that.
Right. Okay. So, but yeah, this was very much a big journey over here.
Yes.
Exciting.
Yeah. And we got into a tornado on the Sioux Falls.
Tornado.
Very, very warm welcome to the Midwest, and turned out that it's kind of normal. But my coach was freaking out when he was driving because like he was constantly monitoring the heat map with like the tornado movement, and it was going right toward us, like crazy. And I kept getting those like alerts on my phone. It never happened to me back home. We don't have tornadoes like anywhere in Russia. It just never happens. And I was like, whoa, what is happening? I was texting my mom, even though I didn't even have like the American SIM card yet. And I was still texting her, even though one message cost me like a lot. I'm not going to say how much, but it was definitely not free to do that. And I was like, Mama, we're in a tornado.
Oh my God.
I don't know if I'm going to see you again.
That is wild.
And I could see my coach freaking out for sure. Like at first he was calm, and then he like kept looking at the map, and he kept getting more and more like, I want to say scared. And we were just like in the middle of the highway. There's nothing around it. You know that drive from Minneapolis to Sioux Falls, there's not much there. Like there were no
absolutely
towns.
Nothing.
There are some small like towns with maybe like 2,000 people in there.
There is the big giant candy store though.
Yeah.
The big yellow warehouse thing, barn.
Biggest, yeah.
Yeah, that's good fun to stop by. But apart from that, nothing else.
Yeah, but that store is close to Minneapolis. But the tornado got on our way. It was probably like we were 2 hours in, I want to say, like halfway, and there was nothing there. And I kept telling my coach to turn around and like go back to Minneapolis while it's not too late. And he was like, no, we're going to be okay. And then at some point he was like, okay, let's try to turn around. And I was like, oh no, that's getting serious. And we turned around and we drove a little bit, and we found some gas station, and it was closed because it was 2 a.m. But it was like a very small building. It's not one of those big ones. So like it's just a little building, and we just parked like behind it, like in the opposite direction of the wind, you know, like.
Yeah, to shield yourself.
Yeah, that was at least something. It was crazy. And then there was another car that did the same thing like 10 minutes later, and then we were just waiting in the car hoping that everything is going to be...
Well, so everything is like shaking at this point, or...
The car was shaking from the wind, and we couldn't see anything because of the rain too. And the tornado just kept going our way, and then suddenly it turned and went south, I think, towards Iowa. So
Iowa can have that. There you go, Iowa.
I was like, good for them. Okay. And then, we started driving and got to Sioux Falls. And then I was in Solberg my freshman year, and now it's renovated, but my freshman year didn't look that good. And I remember there were not that many photos of the dorms on the website, so I didn't really know what to expect. And then I stepped into my room, and I was honestly very shocked and disappointed. It was very old. It had this weird smell of like 100-year-old building, and there was nothing in this room. I came here with one suitcase. Obviously, I didn't have anything, and I couldn't go to the store in the middle of the night. And my coach saw that, and he was like, okay, that actually looks not great. And he was like, okay, I'll get you a hotel. So the first night I spent in the hotel, and then the next day he picked me up. We went to Walmart, got everything that I needed, and then I moved in.
Wow. What a first impression of the US.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Like being chased by a tornado, and then after you've survived that somehow, you rock up into the dorm. Like, I mean, like I had the same experience. I was like, is that it? Like, this is really where I'm going to be living for the next year.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's how it is.
But you got a hotel room, so that's very nice of your coach to do that.
You know what happened the next day, though? So after this long time traveling, I just fell asleep right away, obviously. And before that, I called my mom, and I was like, hey, I'm probably going to be awake around like 7 a.m. because breakfast is until 9, and my coach is supposed to pick me up at like 9:30. And ended up not hearing my alarms because I was so tired, just exhausted from traveling. I woke up at like 12:30, I think, and I see like 18 missed calls from my mom and a bunch of texts, and then texts from my sister as well. And I was like, what is happening? What is happening? Then I look at the time and it's 12:30. I was like, okay, but like, why is she calling me so much? And then I hear the knock on my door, and it's my coach. And he was waiting for my text, like to pick me up or something. And I never texted him, and he just came here because he also got the text from my mom. And my mom doesn't speak English. So they just used the translator, and it was so bad. And so basically my sister and my whole family, they all thought that my coach just like kidnapped me or something because like, well, I was in a hotel and then he was the one who brought me there. Which is weird. But like, I mean, I guess I could understand them because they're on the other side of the world. They don't know what's happening here. I'm in a new place that I didn't know anything about. So
your coach texted, oh, it's okay, I've brought your daughter to the hotel, that sort of thing. And then the translation just gets completely messed up. Yeah.
And also,
or just interpreted differently.
Because I never like reached out to my mom like in the morning because I thought, I'll be awake at 7 a.m. And I woke up at 12:30 p.m.
Oh my God, what a scare for her. And that, I mean, my mum cares about me deeply. She even just... the fact that I've gone here now, she's a bit like, well, hang on, are you going to be okay? Like, you're just doing all this random traveling sort of stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I still text my mom every time I like board the airplane, and then when I land. She still cares a lot. Like, she's worried every time I travel somewhere.
Well, especially after that experience. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What a start to your life here in Sioux Falls. Yeah. I can't believe that.
That was definitely memorable.
Yeah.
That's something I would never forget, for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, so what about as you actually started to ease into the college with the international orientation, that sort of thing? Did you feel like you settled in pretty quick?
I think so, but that's what I thought back then. But like looking back now, it was quite a transition for me. And for the most part, it was just adjusting to the mentality here. Like, I didn't know what I can say. I didn't know what I should not say, you know. And
is there any examples you mean by that?
I don't know. I just, not any specific examples, but over time I just figured out that people are not always as direct and straightforward here in what they say. And you really have to think about what you're saying and filter it. Everybody is like super nice. I want to say fake, but it's not always the case.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's common. You have to be nice, you know, you have to smile and stuff like that and come in.
Yeah, if someone asks you, how are you? You say, I'm doing good, even though maybe you're feeling like absolute crap, but you still want to present in that positive manner. Yeah,
and I'm naturally like just very serious, and that's not how people want to see you here. They just don't understand that. But yeah, I guess also the language. I had a huge language barrier for sure. I didn't have much speaking practice back home. So yeah, I knew the grammar. I could probably understand most of the things when Americans were speaking, but it was a struggle for me to speak myself. So I didn't talk much. I feel like, I don't know, maybe you remember me differently, but...
Well, see, I remember that year as you came in, because I was an ACE ambassador.
Yeah.
So looking after the new international students. And I mean, like, nothing stands out to me like, hey, like, this girl's struggling. She's really like not making friends or anything. I thought you were very friendly, very open, willing to just interact with people.
Well, maybe, but I definitely got better now. I definitely feel more comfortable like just speaking English and making new connections, especially with Americans. Because my freshman year, I was completely avoiding Americans. Like, my whole friend group was international. Just like all those international freshmen. And not only freshmen, I guess. You were one of them. So I definitely felt more comfortable like hanging out with people with like similar background stories, you know, who know how it is to like be adjusting to that new culture.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I'm exactly the same. When I look back on my time at Augie, the vast majority of my friends are international students, and like I got along perfectly well with a lot of American students, but I think it is just that background, that shared experience of coming from all sorts of different countries and just being plonked here. I think it's hard for Americans to truly relate to.
Yeah. And I don't know, I guess on top of that, there were just like all those little culture shocks all over the place. Like, you know, like iced water bottles, things.
Yeah, everyone puts bloody ice in their drinks here. I found that this time around in particular since I've been here. Yeah. I've just noticed it more. But like back home, we don't bother. We just get the water out of the tap. There you go.
Same. Yeah, that was one of my culture shocks for sure. The putting ice in everything, including like iced coffee. Like my freshman year, when I saw people drinking iced coffee, I was like, why? Because back home we only have hot coffee. Now it's getting more popular to have like an iced option in coffee shops, but still, like even if it's hot outside during the summer, people still get hot coffee and hot tea. Like there is no such thing as iced tea, iced coffee.
Yeah, they love the iced drinks here.
For sure.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of food, how did you find the food difference?
Well, I mean, obviously, I was in the beginning, I was trying to eat healthy, which is not possible at the dining hall because I had a meal plan and I had an unlimited meal plan. So obviously, I only ate at the dining hall. And there were a lot of options and I liked it. Like, I know some people were saying that, oh, dining hall food is so bad, like I can't eat it anymore. No, I was fine with it. They had a variety of different things and they had a sushi bar and like salad bars. So you could always find something for yourself, even if you don't like the mainline option. But over time, I definitely realized that it's hard to keep like trying to eat healthy and I kind of gave up. But I guess if I were to cook myself, I would never cook anything like that. Let's put it that way. But as long as I'm here and I have a meal plan, I'm okay with that, with the convenience and stuff. It doesn't taste horrible, you know? It's just, and it's not super different from what I eat back home. It's just like more fast food, I guess, and
a little bit more junky. Like you can get burgers, fries if you want.
A little more oil too, like oil everywhere, sauces everywhere.
Lots of extra calories just sprinkled on top.
Yeah, but that's about it. I think everything else.
So you thought the food was okay then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it's been getting worse. Like the dining hall.
Has it?
Getting worse over the years.
That's not good to hear.
So you graduated at a good time.
Yeah, I feel like it was actually on a little bit of a steady decline since I started, but now it's not as good. But you guys, we did a quick little, we met up at the Commons just before, and you guys have a Chick-fil-A downstairs, which to me, I can't believe. That's unbelievable.
I love it so much. It's very convenient. Especially like, you know how the dining hall is not like you can't get hot food throughout the whole day. Like you have to come at
there's certain lunch hours, breakfast hours, dinner hours. Yeah.
So like if you get done with your class at like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday and you want to go get lunch, you will not be able to do that because lunch ends at 1. So having a Chick-fil-A is like super helpful because you can always go there and you can use your meal swipe, so you don't have to like spend.
So it's unlimited.
Okay, well, if you have unlimited plan, then I think you can only eat there like 5 times a week. But
yeah, that's pretty good. That's once a day during the week.
Yeah, but then I have the meal plan with like 15 swipes a week. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. So 15 swipes, a little more dining dollars that I could use in Starbucks for coffee.
Right.
And then with those 15 swipes, you can use all 15 of them in Chick-fil-A if you want.
Okay, yeah, it works out really well. Dang.
Yeah. That's
really cool. Mm-hmm. So Augie tennis, let's talk about that because that's been a big part of your experience. How'd you find the tennis?
It was a perfect match for my level, for sure. Like I came here and I was expecting all the girls to be worse than like in terms of tennis level, but it ended up like being perfect for me. I was like in the middle of the lineup, I want to say, closer to the top, but there was some good competition within the team. So like there was the motivation to constantly be getting better. And at that point, my freshman year, half of the team was American and half of the team was international. So it really helped to just like transition smoothly into the team, like having those international girls on the team. We had a girl from Romania, Anka. She definitely helped me a lot because like we have a very similar mentality because she's also like from Eastern Europe. And she was a senior at that point. So, which is very sad because she graduated that same year.
Is she still around here? No.
She was. She left this summer because her OPT ended, I'm assuming. Yeah.
That's sad because I'd love to get her on the podcast.
Well, she's in Paris now, so still studying abroad. She's getting her master's, I think. So
it's a good excuse to go to Paris.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So it seems like you really hit a good match then. You sort of mid to upper in the ranks in terms of tennis ability, which is perfect for growth.
Yeah.
And seemingly you got on with the girls pretty well as well.
Yeah.
Which is a good bonus.
And I feel like it's been getting better, like in terms of team environment, team atmosphere, team chemistry, I guess is a better word. It's been getting better over these 5 years, because now the team is completely like international. So we don't have any Americans. I mean, nothing against them, but I feel like we all match in terms of our energies and mentalities. So that's really helpful.
What countries are the other girls from?
Okay. We have a girl from Cyprus. She's our number one really good player. 2 girls from Greece. 1 girl from Lithuania. Then Mexico. What am I forgetting?
Don't
Turkey.
leave anyone out. Turkey. Man, that's such a eclectic mix.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Oh, and Czech Republic.
Czech Republic?
Almost forgot my best friend.
Gabby.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So, well, now that you guys have great chemistry, how do you think that sort of influenced your progression as a tennis player, being part of this program?
Well, it definitely made me stay for my 5th year because I was considering transferring, but I never did because while I was talking to other schools last year, I kind of realized that I probably wouldn't find the same energy, and kind of like, it's more like a family, you know, at this point. I mean, obviously people graduate, new freshmen, they just come, but still there is this nice chemistry, and I feel like, I don't know, it didn't influence me much in terms of my tennis game, if that's what you were asking, but it definitely added to my experience at Augie positively.
Right, so you were considering transferring.
Yeah.
Why exactly was that?
Well, for my 5th year, so that is technically an extra year, and I was done with my degree. I was done with my business major. I was done with my econ major. I walked with my friends at the commencement last May, and there was just nothing holding me back. I always wanted to transfer, and just like, not because I didn't like it here. It was mostly because I wanted to try something different. I wanted to meet new people. I wanted to experience life in a different city, maybe hopefully bigger city somewhere on the coast. But I just couldn't find a better match for me. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, just going for a whole different experience. And we should mention too, NCAA, you get 4 years of eligibility, but during sort of that COVID year, you had a season, was it 1 season, maybe even 2, that was sort of cut short and didn't really exist. So that's why you got the extra year of eligibility.
Yeah, it was 1 season in 2020 specifically, because we all left Augie after spring break. And yeah.
That's when I left. Mm-hmm. Bye-bye. But now I'm back. So yeah. Here we are. So that 5th year, that was very much a year that you extended your time here because you wanted to keep playing tennis. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I want to say I wasn't ready to be an adult yet, and I couldn't figure out what I would like to do after I graduate. So I just kind of thought I would use this extra year to think a little bit, take some other classes in a different major and see what I like.
Yeah. Well, so what classes have you been taking here at Augie? You just mentioned before that you had, what were the majors?
Okay, so I had a double major. For the first 4 years, it was economics and business, which was, well, if you told that to like a 17-year-old Sasha, she would be surprised because econ didn't sound exciting to me. Like I thought
doesn't sound exciting to me.
I thought only nerds and like boring people do things like that, like economics, like what? But then you know how we have Sophia and like those core curriculum classes that everybody has to take in different disciplines. And for the social studies section, one of the options was econ. And I also needed it for my business degree because I came in as a business major. And I took econ and I was like, whoa, this is actually cool. This is interesting. Like, why did I even think it was boring? And yeah, I took another econ class and I liked it and I ended up adding it as a minor. But then I kind of got into it and I was like, whoa, well, this is actually so much better than business and it's going to sound better it's going to look better on my resume as well. So I just added it as a major and so far it is my main major as I see it, you know. And then, yeah, I also have business, which overlaps a lot with econ, a lot of same classes. And right now I'm doing computer information systems, which is half business, half computer science. So now I'm in computer science 1 and I'm going to be done with this major next semester. So,
but you're not too keen on all the coding and that sort of thing?
Not really. I mean, it's better than I thought it would be. It's not as boring, but it's still a little bit creative even, I want to say. But it's probably not something I want to do in the future, for sure. I also had a government minor, and honestly, I would love it to be my major, but I just didn't have time for it, and I thought it wouldn't get me anywhere eventually in terms of like job opportunities. Right.
Yeah, well, you maybe could stay for 6 years. You're up for that?
No.
No, I think 5 is more than enough.
I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then the classes themselves, I think we were talking before, didn't really enjoy the business classes all that much.
Not really. And I hate to admit that because my parents were against my idea of majoring in business. They were like, oh, what are they going to teach you? You can't teach somebody to like how to do business. It's just a skill. It's natural. It's either a talent or you just develop it with like
as
experience.
You do it. Yeah.
And I was like, no. It's like a big thing. It's a very popular major and you can get like a good job. And it's also very broad. You can do whatever you want. And I didn't know what I wanted to do as my future. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have a lot of options. And eventually the thing is, you don't have any specific options because yes, you're kind of like all over the place. You can do a little bit of this and that, but then you're not specialized in anything. That was the problem for me. For example, now I want to do marketing. I want to get into marketing field, but they want marketing majors. They want people who've been focusing on that marketing field for 4 years instead of doing many different things. So yeah, and I kind of found the classes not very informing. I don't know how to put it better. It's just like I haven't learned much.
Didn't learn all that much.
I was reading the textbook and it was common sense. I was like, it's just life. I know that. So yeah, I was a little disappointed about it.
Yeah, well, I think the business classes for me, I thought it was kind of quite good. And I would say that I learned quite a bit, but then I sort of did a big swing from exercise science. I took a few of those classes, but then I changed once I stopped playing basketball. I was like, I'm just going to do business because I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with my life now that I'm not going to be a professional athlete.
Yeah, I was considering exercise science, I guess for that same reason, because I was in sport, like in tennis my whole life, and I wanted to do something with sports. And I took an introduction class, Intro to Exercise Science, my freshman year, and I was like, no, this is not for me, which is something that I really like about American education and like college system, because you can actually like take classes, try something that you're not majoring in, and then decide for yourself whether you like it or not.
Yes, and the example you gave just before with the econ, well, you wouldn't have even known what econ was like unless you actually took that general class. So I think there's a big tick for a liberal arts education. It does give you a chance to find out, try a few things and work out what you actually want to do.
Yeah, for sure. Because in Russia, the system is completely different. So you just like study the same major for 4 or 5 years and you don't really get the choice and options.
Yeah.
You just follow the plan.
So what do you think is next for you? You mentioned that you want to go into marketing, but then if people don't hire people who aren't specialized in marketing, how are you going to navigate that?
I don't really know. I guess I will figure it out along the way, but honestly, I feel like I'm just going to end up getting just some job, somehow related to business, hopefully related to computer science more and like technology and innovation, something like that. I was also looking at startups and maybe I could do something with that because this summer I was also doing research on ChatGPT, like AI and like intellectual property rights as related to AI and ChatGPT.
Fascinating. That's huge at the moment.
And it was very exciting and like just to see how fast this field progresses. So I was like, well, that would be actually cool to like be part of one of those startups that are doing things like that. So I'm going to try to find a job in that field and then maybe I will get into law school or something like that. But the thought of graduating law school at like 28 or 29 kind of scares me. So
yeah, that might, and especially if you don't want to dive straight into it, if you want to do a year or two where you have a gap year where you're working or even traveling or whatever else you do, to go back to the law school might be a little bit hard, especially since you're sort of a little bit burnt out from all the college and the studying and everything that encompasses.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a perfectionist, so I study a lot because I want to do my best, like in every class. So I spent a lot of time in the library in the past 4 years. A lot of caffeine has been consumed, for sure. Not enough sleep, and I don't think I'm ready to do that for another 3 years in law school, because law school, from what I've heard, is a horrible experience. Like, it's a lot of studying, a lot of readings.
Yeah, that'd be very full on.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine doing something like that. But if that's what you want to do, Sasha, go for it.
We'll see.
Yeah. And did you mention, as I was setting up before, you have a friend that was doing something with, I don't know, the tennis AI app or something like along those lines?
Yeah, not really a friend, but just like a person I know from childhood. Just like we played at the same tournaments, that girl was older than me. So she was like competing in the older age category at the tournaments. But she's from a town like 3 hours away from my hometown. And she graduated from one of the schools in California and ended up working for a startup that is now very big called Swing Vision. And they basically create that AI for tennis. And I feel like being part of those companies that are trying to do things like that, it's just amazing because it allows you to combine so many different fields like sports and AI technology, that's like, it's cool. So yeah, sort of best of both worlds. Yeah. And like just the fact that she got so far into this just like gives me some confidence and makes me think that it is possible. And there's the competitive edge talking, if she can do it, I can do it too. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, that's very cool. And so do you see yourself playing tennis after your time at Augie? Probably not for the next couple of years. I feel like I need a break from tennis. So professional isn't on the cards anymore? Probably not. I was definitely considering that because some people do that. So like they get out of college and they start like practicing super hard and trying to play tournaments because there are a lot of opportunities in the US. Like there are a lot of big tournaments happening like in the professional tour. But I don't think I want to spend my time doing that because you have to be dedicated. You have to love it. It's the same as like with med school, you know, you should only go there if you love it and you know for sure you want to do it. But I don't think I'm ready to practice and work hard in tennis.
And do you think that's sort of become more clear over your time at Augie, just with, I don't know how it was like, maybe if we do compare it to what it was like when you left Russia, all the practicing and prep that you're doing there compared to Augustana, was it a jump for you? Were you playing, feel like it was more intense here at college, or maybe it was less?
It was definitely less intense.
Right.
Which is why I guess I was kind of losing my motivation slowly. Yes, I enjoyed practicing. I enjoyed traveling and all the opportunities that tennis was giving me. But at the same time, when you're, you know that feeling when you're not working out and you're not practicing for a long time, then you try to get back to it and it's so hard.
Yep. Last year I tried to play basketball again. I played with a few old mates and they were at a statewide competition. It was like reasonably good level. But yeah, I just struggled the whole time. I just wasn't as fit. My skills were not nearly as good. Missing shots I'd normally make. And just that whole process was super frustrating.
Yeah, and so now, at this point, whenever it gets more intense, like the practices and stuff, especially during the season, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm tired of that. I don't want to do it anymore. I just want to go back to a more relaxed way of playing tennis. But also, I think another factor was that during my 4 years at Augie, I've been able to experience so many other things. Like I was involved in many different organizations. I had multiple jobs, and I saw that there is life, even more exciting life outside of tennis. So, and that's something I want to experience too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, I've started a whole career in video since graduating and like finishing basketball as well. Yeah. So, I mean, like there's definitely, you can very much do anything you want to do. So you shouldn't feel scared about all the opportunities ahead because you can really pick and choose whatever you want to do.
Yeah. But well, tennis for sure will be my backup, like coaching, you know. Tennis coaches make good money. So like that skill will always stay with me. And if I ever decide to go back to it, I can.
And so you'd like to stay in the US after you graduate?
For a few years, probably. I don't see myself living here long term, but just like starting my career here would be really helpful, I think. There are a lot of opportunities here.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. I actually want to go to Australia at some point.
You do?
Yeah. It looks very cool.
Do some work down there?
Yeah. And I mean, I could speak English there, so that's a plus.
There you go. Yeah. And you should definitely check out the Australian Open. It's such a cool event. Every year they put that on.
I want to go.
I haven't been for a few years, but I used to go like growing up. One of my dad's co-workers would always just have spare tickets, so we'd go watch the big dogs, Roger Federer and Nadal, play on centre court. Yeah. Pretty cool experience.
Yeah, that was always my dream, to like see all those tennis players that you mentioned, like Nadal, Federer. Unfortunately, they're not playing anymore. So kind of like my motivation to actually go and watch those tournaments, it's been going down, but still.
Well, as we sort of wrap up, Sasha, I did want to talk about what the dynamic has been for you coming from a country like Russia, whereas in the Western world, like in the US and Australia too, but I think particularly the US, and living here, how has it been difficult at times? Just with, what am I trying to say? With just the cultural differences, but also just like the political like polarization between the two countries. Has that affected your time while you've been here?
Well, I'm going to start with the last part of that. The political situation, I don't think it's ever affected me in any way. No. Well, honestly, most of my friends, they have very positive opinions about my country. And even if they want to talk to me about politics and stuff like that, they're very supportive all the time, and the professors are the same way. So I've never really experienced any difficulties because of my heritage and like my background. It was more about like just adjusting to the culture. So it was more on my side. I've never felt any pressure. Like anybody else.
That's interesting because I mean, yeah, and like I'm only speaking from my own perspectives, but like there's all this, I would say, or yeah, I guess it really depends on your political view about this sort of stuff, but like all this like corruption from Russia and all that, and like that, I'm well aware that that can very much just be propaganda fed to us to make us believe certain things.
Yeah.
And all that sort of stuff.
And I feel like, I mean, that is definitely true, but I feel like it helps being in Sioux Falls. It helps being in the middle of nowhere because people here are not as open-minded and are not as aware of what's happening in the world. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just like they have nothing to worry about. Like there's nothing really happening here. So
Sioux Falls is probably like lowest on, I don't know, radar in terms of cities. They live their life
and enjoy it. They don't have to worry about anything what's going on in the world. So
because I do bring that up because I thought potentially being a more closed-minded community here in Sioux Falls, like maybe you would have run into issues, but I mean, if you haven't, that's fantastic.
Everybody is super nice and friendly and supportive, and they don't really care about where you came from. It's more important about who you are now at the moment. So
terrific. Great stuff. And so, Sasha, I want to ask you my favorite question that I ask on the podcast.
Okay.
If you could give your experience at Augie a letter grade, what would it be?
There's nothing higher than A, right?
You can do A+.
A+. 2 pluses.
2 pluses?
Yeah, for sure.
A double plus.
It was a great experience.
But you're not done yet.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll stay A double plus?
For sure. Yeah.
So what makes it that good?
The people. I always say that. It sounds cheesy, but it is the people. It is the community. And especially since I've been here for so long, I have so many close friends and good connections, and I feel like I'm at home. So, yeah, that's probably the biggest factor.
Yeah. Well, I think being in a place like Sioux Falls where there isn't as much to do, I very much find that you gravitate towards people so much more and you sort of lean into those relationships, those friendships even deeper because you're very much relying on each other to have a good time as opposed to do fun activities that you would do maybe in a big city. Yeah, for sure. And also being part of the community that actually knows who you are when you're not just a number, you know, it really helps to like figure out what you're good at, some areas of growth, because you actually get to do things. Like you want to give a commencement speech? Sure, apply. You have a great chance to do that. Like there's a good I guess. Like probability that could actually happen.
Yeah, that it could actually happen. You want a recommendation letter from one of the really good professors? Sure, because that professor is going to know exactly who you are because they had you in class and the class size was probably no more than 20 people. They actually know you as more than just a number. And yeah, I guess it's just like, as you said, when there is not much to do, you turn towards people, and like that also helps you grow as a person and like figure out who you are a little better because you spend so much time with others, and it also helps you figure out your own personality and things like that. Yeah.
I mean, and that's the whole driving force behind this podcast, is to reconnect with the people. And I think that's what ultimately made all of our time so special with all the international students, but even the Americans. Our time here in the US was so special because of the wonderful people that we were surrounded by.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So good. Great faces, great places. I love that quote. On the bumper, was it the license plate of every car in South Dakota?
Did you get one of those when you were leaving?
No.
That's a tradition.
It is.
Tradition that.
So I would like to collect mine now that I'm here.
Yeah, you should do that.
I'll let someone know.
Yeah, because I already have one. It's on my wall.
You've got one already?
Yeah.
Dang, I'm missing out big time.
Yeah.
All right, Sasha, before we wrap up, if you could give some advice to yourself, that 17-year-old self who, before coming to college,
Yeah.
all the experiences that you've had now, maybe realizing the business classes weren't so good, maybe I should have done some marketing. What sort of advice would you give your younger self?
Well, I wouldn't focus that much on the classes and like academics because, well, that's how I know what I want to do and what I don't want to do. Like if I started originally with a different major, it would have been a completely different experience, you know. But the advice I would give would probably be to just go out there, get out of your comfort zone right away when if your language is not great, and just like meet people, talk to people, and be yourself, be open, let them get to know you. Because I used to be, well, I'm an introvert. I don't know if you can tell, but like right now, most of my friends, when I tell them that I'm an introvert, they're like, whoa, why?
I wouldn't have picked that.
That is not true, yeah. That's because I would say a couple of years ago, I started pushing myself out of that comfort zone to like let people know, like get to know me and know who I am and how great our relationship and connection can be. And since then, I've made so many friends, and it's like in the past 2 years. So the first 2 years, I was just missing out on that experience. I was like hanging out just like in a small group of people, mostly with the tennis team because like we travel a lot, we practice together every day. But there are so many people on this campus. And just like junior year, I started getting involved in all those different organizations. I started working at recreational services. And yeah, I guess I always think back and I'm like, what if I'd started like doing that earlier, being more open earlier, like right away when I came? I would have made so much more friends, like so many more friends, so many more meaningful connections. And yeah, because as I said, it's all about the people for me in everything I do. Like, you know, even if you do like some boring work, it's still like, it's the people who can make it fun and make you stay somewhere, like at some job or like anything else.
Like the tennis team has done for you.
Yeah, like see, that's the reason I'm still here, because my experience has been so great because of the people around me. So yeah, if I could go back to my freshman year, my first day here, I would have just like not cared about my accent at all, not care about my like English. I would just go out there and meet all those great international students first, and then like obviously Americans, because I was really worried about my English and like how people are gonna, like what they're gonna think about me. Well, it doesn't matter, especially here in the US. Nobody cares. They just want to know you, who you are.
Well, that's some very good advice right there.
That was long too.
Yeah, just very much just be open, and well, sort of what I draw from that is sort of fail faster. Like just put yourself out there. It doesn't matter if you look stupid or I don't know, maybe this one person didn't warm up to you or something, because the overall experiences and opportunities you gain from putting yourself out there, it just pays itself back tenfold.
And even if you look stupid doing that, I mean, there will definitely be at least one person who will actually like it and will want to like talk to you and have you as a friend, you know?
And I would also, you mentioned that you worked at Rec Services and did some ASA, which is, remind me that again, the Student Senate.
Augustana Student Association. Yeah, there is like a Senate, and we have those like meetings and different committees working on different projects. So
do you just want to talk about that for a little bit?
Sure.
Won't take long.
What do you want to know about it?
Well, what was your involvement? Like what sort of drew you to have a position like that? Okay,
well, first of all, I thought it would look good on the resume, because one of my career options has always been like getting into government field and like doing stuff like that, and being part of the Senate, like being a senator sounded kind of cool. So, but once again, the reason I didn't do it before this year was because I was too scared, like, oh, like my English is not perfect. How am I going to be a senator? Or like, yeah, because it would probably involve like some public speaking, you know, like expressing my opinion in front of other people. I was like, I'm not ready to do that. And maybe I was not ready, actually, because I didn't have this mentality of just like getting out there and doing things. So I finally did it this year. I got elected. I mean, there was no competition, but still. And it's great being part of the Senate because you see things happening on campus. Like you vote on things happening around us. So you actually have power and you can use that power to make the lives of others better, like the life of international students and stuff like that.
Yeah, very cool. And then rec services, I've seen you do a few TikToks.
Yeah, rec services for me, that started as just like a side job, part-time job, because I just was looking for something on campus. And I applied my freshman year, and I was supposed to start my freshman year after spring break, which obviously never happened because of COVID. So when I got back in January, my sophomore year, I started working there, first as a volleyball ref. Then I slowly transitioned into weight room supervising. And then I was like, well, I want to talk to people more. And I moved to the front desk. And right now I'm a building supervisor, building/staff supervisor. So basically my job is talking to people most of the time and just like making sure everything is fine in the building as well. And it's been probably the best part of my experience at Augie in general, like
really?
Just being part of rec services. And once again, it got so much better for me only like, I would say a year and a half ago when I started being more open. Because my sophomore and junior year, I would just come to my shifts, just like be there for 2 hours, try not to talk to that many people and didn't try to like get to know anybody. I would just like do my tasks and leave, you know. But then last year, there were a couple people who influenced me in a positive way. And I started like getting out there more. Once again, I've been using that phrase a lot, but that is true. And I figured out that, well, rec services is just full of great people who I want to be friends with, who I want to like get to know and see, I don't know, just like had fun with. So yeah, I kind of started being involved a little more, and slowly I was like, okay, I actually want to grow. And like being a building supervisor, that's a leadership position. That's how we call it. Like it's a leadership position. And so I'm the one leading people, and that I realized that that's actually something that fulfills me. Like I love seeing people grow. I was like, if you had told freshman Sasha that her job would be talking to people for like 6 hours straight, she was
in
like,
a foreign country, speaking a different language,
speaking English, and I was like, no, there is no way. And this is part of the reason why it's so hard for me to decide what I want to do in the future, because with my majors, probably it will be like a corporate job in the office, like sitting in front of your computer screen for like 8 hours every day. And I'm not ready to do that, because right now my job is like a perfect job where I get to meet people, where I get paid for like team bondings and things like that, which is amazing. Like my friends in Russia, just like, they can't even believe that we like go on hikes, like Augie outdoor program hikes, and we get as a team and we get paid for that. We do team bondings and just like have fun in general. Every meeting that we have, it's all so much fun. Late nights, as you mentioned, Family Feud and stuff like that, you loved going to those. Well, that's all rec services. We're the ones who put them on. So yeah.
That's unbelievable. I didn't realize that was like such a big part of your experience here at Augie.
It's been, in the past 2 years, I want to say it's been bigger than maybe my involvement with the tennis team, for sure.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, Sasha, you were looking at your watch before, so we did promise 6 o'clock at 6:07, so we'll wrap it up. But it's so great to see you again, and I'm glad that we could work it out, because you are leaving to go back home in a day or so's time. Yeah. But it's amazing to see the growth that you've had over the 3.5 years that like I've been away for, and your time here. It's so encouraging and rewarding to see.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming back to college with me.
Yeah, it was great talking to you. Thank you so much for inviting me.